You spent the last 20 or 30 years building a successful career. And now that you've stepped away from it, you feel a sense of emptiness. And I need you to know that you're not ungrateful. You're experiencing the profound reality shock of retirement. And by the end of this video, you're going to learn how to build back that sense of purpose from scratch. My name is Andrew Matz. I'm a financial planner at Oak Road Wealth Management, where we help pre-retirees and retirees with $1 million or more build a confident retirement plan. Every single week, we talk to clients who have plenty of money in the bank. Their spreadsheets look great, their financial plan is going well, but they wake up every morning, they look at their blank calendar, and they can't help but ask, who am I without my work? We live in a culture that tells us that retirement is the ultimate prize. You've worked hard, you've saved your money, so you should be happy with total leisure. But nobody tells you that when you leave work on your last day, a part of you leaves as well. Your career didn't just give you a paycheck, it gave you a sense of purpose. It was part of your identity. And when that ends overnight, it doesn't feel like total freedom, it feels like a loss of gravity. Now, before we learn how to reconstruct your life outside of the office, we first want to look at the psychology behind this transition to understand why it hurts so much. Because if you don't understand how your career rewired your brain, you're going to think that something is wrong with you. And pay close attention, because at the end of this video, I'm going to share a specific framework called the identity portfolio. This is a non-financial structure that you can use to learn how to transition your energy from career-focused to deep personal fulfillment. You'll want to see it because it redefines what we see as a successful life after work. Think about what your career really was. It was a steady and predictable dopamine loop. You walked in the office and you were met with emails to answer, problems to solve, and teams to manage. When you solved a crisis, your brain got a hit of accomplishment. You were moving forward. The progress was the purpose. But when you retire, that dopamine loop breaks instantly. The emails stop coming in, the phone stops ringing, there's no more teams to manage. But that feeling of emptiness, it's not depression. It's just your brain missing that constant stream of validation that you used to receive every single day. Psychologists have a term for this, identity foreclosure. And it happens when we tie our entire sense of self-worth into a single role. In our society, we don't just do our jobs, we are our jobs. For example, when you're going to a dinner party and you introduce yourself, you say your title. You say, I'm a teacher, I'm an engineer, I'm a partner at this firm. What you don't say is, I'm someone who loves mentorship, I'm someone who loves new experiences. Your title becomes your armor. It tells yourself and the world that you're important, that you matter. So what happens when you hand in the badge and close the laptop for the last time? It feels like part of you has died. You're not just changing your routine, you're changing yourself. The hardest part is not giving up the income, it's giving up that piece of your identity. Because on a Tuesday afternoon, instead of being on schedule at work, you're in a random hardware store where nobody knows you. So when you walk away from your career, you lose 3 hidden pillars that held up your emotional well-being. First, you lose built-in structure. You had to be at work at a certain time. Your calendar was filled with work activities, different deadlines that had to be done, and you got home at the same time every single day. When you retire, this doesn't exist, and it sounds wonderful until you realize that with nothing to do, time loses its value. Second, you lose status. Not only do you lose your title, you lose being the expert whose opinion was sought after. And now your biggest decision of the day is deciding which restaurant to eat at for dinner with your spouse. Third, and perhaps the most painful, is you lose your tribe. You spend a lot of time with your coworkers and your managers. You were reaching a lot of the same goals. You had a lot of the same achievements. And at the same time, they were never that close to you. When you leave, they're still at work, and now you're not. you feel like an outsider looking in. When retirees start feeling this emptiness, they often make one of these three big mistakes. The first is the clean break shock. You go from 100 to 0. You leave your job and you never look back. But this is hard on your brain. Often, having part-time consulting or just working part-time can be beneficial. The second mistake is leisure overdose. You assume that because you've been overworked for so long, that you need total and complete relaxation. And in small doses, this is true. But when leisure becomes your full-time job, the issue is this becomes a mind-numbing routine. Leisure is something that you should be working to. The third mistake is the fake consultation. This is when you become so bored that you pick up any project and jump on any advisory board. All of a sudden, your calendar fills up again, you have more emails, but you just lost the freedom that you were working for, and you still didn't find your purpose. If you are watching this and realized that you haven't quite yet built that plan for who you're going to be after retirement, that's the exact type of planning that we do. If you want to partner through this process, please click the link in our description below to schedule an introductory call to see if we might be a good fit for each other. So now, how do we solve this problem? We need to build what I call an identity portfolio. Just like we would diversify our financial portfolio across different asset classes like stocks and bonds, we want to diversify your time and energy so that your self-worth never becomes dependent on one area again. Let's look at the first quadrant, which is mastery. In your career, you are the expert in something. You are competent in your job. Now that you're retired, you need to become a complete beginner in a new area. This may be picking up a new hobby or learning a new language. You need to go through that process of failing and making mistakes and getting continuously better. You need to feel that satisfaction of becoming better at something again. The second quadrant is kinship. In your career, you naturally had a network of your coworkers and your bosses. But now that you've left, you need to invest in deep relationships with people not at all related to your career. And on top of that, they shouldn't even care about your previous titles or work experience. You need to be valued for who you are, no longer just your utility. The third quadrant is contribution. You should be spending your time and your money on a cause that you care about. This could be mentoring, volunteering, or really anything else of that matter. You're no longer working for a paycheck, but rather for an impact. And the fourth quadrant is vitality. During your career, a lot of the time your health was sacrificed. But now that you're finished and you have the time, take the time to focus on your well-being, your nutrition, your exercise, and take the time to track it and take good care of yourself. When you look at life through the lens of an identity portfolio, retirement becomes a new challenge with a new set of goals. You're not quitting, you're graduating. Fulfilling your purpose in your career doesn't mean your book is over. You just finished one chapter. You still have many chapters of retirement left to fulfill your own goals this time. If you stepped away from your career, don't stay stranded on the sidelines. Start building your identity portfolio. And if you need some help, be sure to click the link in the description below to set up a call with us. Thank you.